Loading snacks.
Now, my good friend, we need to discuss our thoughts on the top 5 MCU TV shows. Um, Part of why this is happening is because, again, with like Doomsday coming up at the end of the year, also partially like we were kind of expecting that we might see a Doomsday Super Bowl spot. That didn't happen. Kind of getting into that a little bit later, but this, would kind of fit that.
Mm-hmm.
But still, in the run of things, like, you know, having watched Wonder Man recently and having the feelings about that show that I had, it's just they've done a lot of shows, some hits. Misses might be a little harsh, but like some that don't hit quite as well.
Not up to par. Not quite up to the par that level we were
Yeah.
expecting.
I think we need to line them up. So top 5. I'm gonna tell you something. This was harder than I thought it was gonna be. Jokes.
It was. It actually was. Because as I was making the list, like obviously, I had to pull up a list because I was like, there's been so many shows now. Like I have a good sense of the ones that came out, but then I'm like, oh yeah, I did forget about this, and still trying to put it in line with others. There's a few that I was just like straight up. I was like, yeah, you're not making top 5. So there was a couple that could easily get nixed from the list on there, but it took a little doing for it.
It wasn't just that part for me. It was like really kind of deciding the order of the 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna be honest. I'm not positive that I'm comfortable with where my 5 is.
So
Like it's just one of the things where I feel like on any given day, it could change.
mm-hmm.
Depending on how I feel. But also, hindsight being 2020, especially with the MCU, because it's such a long running franchise with movies that are tied to each other over so many pieces of content
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes a piece of content that they made in the moment isn't as good
Didn't.
and or doesn't hit as hard as it does like after something else comes out. In some cases, after you go back and watch something you've already seen, then you're like, oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, right? Um so I'm just gonna preface this by saying that like my list is what it is, but it's malleable. Like it could
Mm-hmm.
change. But a
There's a
lot of it
few.
is kind of close, and there are things that probably should be or could be on this list that are not.
Yeah.
Um, Jokes, what's your number
ZR.
5?
I got to throw the
Oh,
Z already up there. Was like, yo, Moon Knight, I may
if y'all
riot.
don't say
So,
Moon Knight, I might riot.
well, I'll
Yeah,
start
but
you out
like,
right.
yeah, but you like Defenders.
So, sorry, Z, but I'll make it right now. Moon Knight didn't make the top 5. It's right outside the list. Honestly, it was good, but my number 5 was Agatha All Along. Um,
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
I thoroughly enjoy Agatha, and by all means, like Agatha was one that I wasn't expecting for it to be as good as what it actually was. Um,
Mm,
I feel like we had a very small idea of what it truly was gonna be. Obviously, we knew after the events of WandaVision and everything, and her trying to get back on this path, but we really didn't have a full on kind of expectation to it.
yeah.
But boy, oh boy, that had me glued every episode on there for it. It's kind of, believe it or not, it's kind of hard to even put that at 5, but it's like some of these I feel like can be interchanged for different and various reasons on there for it.
All right, look, I'm gonna probably make some people upset with this.
Do it.
So my number 5 is Hawkeye.
Hmm.
And here's the thing about Hawkeye. Hawkeye actually, I feel like, landed all of the important things. It gave us one of our very best Yelena Belova scenes ever. Really honestly helped solidify that character outside of Black Widow, which for a lot of people wasn't a good movie. Like, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? They just didn't vibe with it. Um, kind of getting a true like passing of the torch from the character. I think that the the themes, the tempo of the show is really good. The comedy and comedic timing of the show is really good and never feels like the like action like doesn't match. Like, it all
Mm-hmm.
feels like it goes really well together. It gives us Echo, gives us Yelena, gives us a great storyline in what's happening with Kingpin along with Echo. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much that's happening in that show that I don't think a lot of people give like real credit to, like, what's all of what's happening in it and how well that show is probably more well tied to other pieces of content and continuity.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it kind of helped to create the truth through line from what once was non-canon Netflix shows
Mm-hmm.
into the rest of the MCU with Echo and Kingpin, and you know that then having something with that. So, Hawkeye, my number 5. What's your number 4?
I'm mad at that. Kind of, actually, funny enough, that's actually a good segue because, like, my number four is Daredevil Born Again.
Okay.
Kind of the same thing. It was being able to take, like, the Netflix show that was absolutely amazing and being able to now bring it over to the MCU and tie it in without necessarily pulling and tearing down the foundation of what Daredevil established over on the Netflix side.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, there's little small tidbits of things of the MCU that do get acknowledged within the show, but they don't just throw a whole bunch of things at you to just make you realize that, oh yeah, this is in the MCU now. But there's
Yeah.
little small things that are just thrown throughout the series that just slowly intertwine it into the MCU, and not necessarily full blown out as Matt Murdock showing up in Peter Parker's apartment and
Wow.
being his lawyer type of thing,
Yeah.
but being able to intertwine in the MCU, keeping that same, like, we were afraid that when it came over to Disney, it's like, uh-oh, we may this may get watered down, they may pull some things back a little bit. Nope. They still made sure you got that same Daredevil. A little, maybe a little smidge, but no, you got the full on Daredevil. But Daredevil is my number four.
Um. So, in really kind of trying to like layer this out and figure out where I really wanted to be with this list and like what
Mm-hmm.
was important to me and what wasn't. Some of the things that you just said in terms of like how it's like it is tied to the MCU, but it isn't tied to the MCU, like those through lines. Number 4 for me is Agents of Shield, and I struggled with that a little bit.
I
I
did
kind of
too,
felt
and I
like
didn't
maybe it
put
should
it
be a little
on my.
higher.
I
It
didn't
almost
put
didn't
Agents
make
of
the
Shield
list.
on my list. That
It
was my
almost
thing
didn't make.
because I was in a place where it was like there were clear ties in the beginning that they did with Agents of Shield that were
Correct.
always tied to the MCU,
Correct.
and then it kind of put the Shield, like, Agents of Shield just kind of just got put in this like box
This little
almost, like,
bucket.
we're
Yeah.
not going to really consider it. So
We're
that's
not
one of the
really
reasons why I didn't
bringing
make my
humans.
list.
Yeah.
Ooh, throw that away.
Agents of Shield was like, it was so good. It was such good. It was, truthfully, it's the only thing that's on this list that wasn't part of a streaming service, that
Mm-hmm.
was on regular TV and was like by appointment TV watching, which is not a thing
Mm-hmm.
that I had done in a long time and isn't really a thing that I have done since then, right? Like every week when that joint came on, I needed
Yeah.
to be there. Like, and I truthfully hadn't had that feeling for real since like 24 first came on
24.
TV. You know what I'm saying? And like, bro, like all respect due to Coulson, bro. Like there's a part of me that wants so bad. Like I want Coulson to show up in Doomsday so
So
bad.
bad. I do
So
too.
bad. Just acknowledge Agents of Shield. I don't care if you say it was a different universe or like I almost don't care. You know what I mean? How you got to do it. But like give my man his respect for like being the catalyst that Nick Fury used to bring the Avengers together in the first place. And then literally them going off and doing all of these things out in the world or whatever and having no idea that this man is still alive is crazy.
Saving the world. Like saving the world. Like clearly, I
Bro,
don't.
bro, getting into like the dark hold and like bro, like that show went like it does it all, bro. And it does it
Off
really well.
world.
And like
Everything.
any show that can bro, the twist in that joint, like who the bad guy is in that, bro. Nah, they like did it. Like I don't know the last time I actually hated a character that much in anything. Yeah, that joint. Yeah, that's my number 4. It's Agents of
There you
Shield.
go.
Bring
Bring it.
Coulson back. That's right, Kai. Like, yeah,
Justice
justice
for
for Coulson.
Coulson.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and my man is like, come on, man. Like, he got to show up in
You
Doomsday,
got
bro.
to. They have to do it.
I would love if they did a world where like he was Nick Fury. If there was just like he was Nick Fury and Nick Fury was like the Coulson. You know what I'm saying or whatever. And like I almost don't care. Just give me my let me get my man back though.
Give me go.
You know what I'm
Just
saying?
do it. That would be
Yeah.
amazing to see him show up and like none of the Avengers like, holy, this dude is still alive.
Hey bro, come on, dog. Like some of the best Shield agents. Like I know Shield went away, but bro, Ming Na went, bro, like 7 seasons. Like that show was
Oh,
great, bro.
and they were solid.
It's my number 4, dog.
Dig it.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Wonder Man.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yo, Wonder. So there's not many characters that I don't really have a background around to at least know certain tidbits. Wonder Man was one of those that just never needed to really get in and learn this character, and I never did. So first going into the show, it's like, okay, you got to make me care about this character, and it can't be
Yeah.
no just throwaway and do all that. But Wonder Man ended up coming out and being a pleasure to just watch.
Yeah.
Like, if this thing without Trevor, if we took listen, I know from you guys in watching over the years, like for a long time, I hated what they did
Yeah.
to the Mandarin and did to Trevor. Like
Yeah.
I hated Iron Man 3. I hated it. And slowly now,
Real talk, dog. Go back and watch that joint. That joint's kind of
hey,
incredible,
listen,
dog. Like I don't even want. Yeah.
slowly over the years, I've grown more appreciation. And
Yeah.
now the Trevor character as a whole, like Grant, and this is just the supporting character I'm talking about here. I have grown to care about Trevor.
Sure.
But now you've given me this new character here that, for all like I was thinking, you know what, you're gonna bring this in. This is gonna be kind of be a throwaway. Dog, the show is amazing. You made me care about a lot of the characters in the show. That made me want to know, hey, what's gonna happen with, mom's brother, like all these other characters that normally you probably wouldn't even worry about. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm in here for it. If this ended up being something that clearly, like, not going to get, don't want to get into spoilers, but obviously there's I can't say a superhero, but a super powered element that is introduced within the show. But if you take that out of this is a super great watch, even without that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It is a super great watch. you don't, other than Trevor, you don't really need a full-on background of the MCU to watch this and know certain things. Like, if you've watched, there's gonna be Easter eggs throughout the whole entire thing that you're gonna get excited for. But Wonder Man made me care for a character that potentially was gonna end up just being a throwaway,
Yeah.
and I gotta give him props. And you know what? I know a lot of people 30-minute runtime episodes, perfect. Like at
Perfect,
first
bro.
when I first
Perfect,
saw
bro.
that, I was worried and I was like, ew, these episodes are gonna be super quick. We're gonna gloss over things, not go back and finish them and tie up loose ends. Yo, they do a great job at hey listen, put a pin in it. Something happens, they put that pin in it, may get to that next episode, pin gets pulled down, we're gonna go revisit this and talk about it. So Wonder Man.
Um, my number 3 is WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
Now, WandaVision is for Disney Plus,
Mm-hmm.
technically the first actual MCU show.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, the stuff we like, Agents of Shield, and like again, they had like they did Inhuman. We don't really talk about Inhumans, but um, WandaVision is one of those shows I was talking about that is better now when
Mm-hmm.
you go back and you watch it. Given all the things that have happened so far, all of what's going on in the MCU, the experience of the Scarlet Witch, like having WandaVision actually be the first time she really technically turns into the Scarlet
Mm-hmm.
Witch. You know what I mean? To a large extent. Um, is this show is it's weird. You don't really know what's going on. The first like few episodes being in black and white. It is a really, really like well done. Like if you are familiar with like the old TV shows that it was
Mm-hmm.
like mimicking, it's done like spot on. It's to a T, but it all falls so perfectly into what it is that like her mind is doing and what she's capable of. Like she
Mm-hmm.
literally captures an entire town. You know what I mean? And so like Agatha all along, like being your fifth, like they're kind of neck and neck for
Yeah.
me in to some extent. The only reason why Agatha all along didn't make my list, as good of a show as it is
Mm-hmm.
kind of like it's kind of a cheat, but it's like because Agatha all along only exists because of WandaVision, like because of what
Fair.
because of that space, and like you kind of need WandaVision to get to Agatha all along and to really kind of understand all of what's happening in it. Um, and after you watch like the second Doctor Strange movie, and then you go back and you watch WandaVision, and you're still wondering like what is happening with White Vision, and like what is what I mean, like like all that kind of stuff still being there. Also, Darcy, bro, Darcy for the win, always killing it. But like we get our other Captain Marvel in that show.
Mm-hmm.
We like it's actually a really really good show that's really well done. Again, like crosses characters. You pull what's the name from Ant-Man in, he's doing his little FBI magic. Who is in witness protection, bro? Um, yeah, WandaVision. What's your number 2?
A good segue because my number 2 is WandaVision. Um,
Hey,
Listen,
okay.
you hit the nail on the head with pretty much everything there was in for it. Being that it was the first, the MCU show that true MCU show that we got. It was, it was weird at first. We're trying to figure out, wait, what's happening right now? What is going on? And playing into that part where we get that shift to realize, oh, now we're shifting gears and we're really about to get into the nitty gritty of this. Um, I think it was executed very well. And, taking these two characters who I don't want to say they've had moments throughout the actual entire thing, but to now have this show that is focused centered on the two of them.
Hmm.
It's just really, it's a really interesting concept. Obviously, Wanda's had her comic, they've done things. WandaVision has had his comic, they've done their thing. So I thought it was a real interesting choice for them to start with Wanda and
Yeah,
Vision as being that first introduction into an MCU show. But I think with her abilities and the things and the events and things that had just recently happened, it made a lot of sense to kind of start with what they did and to kind of spill over into what else was going to happen on there for it. But
yeah.
just overall, executed very well. Um, had me in the beginning just saying, yo, what the hell am I watching right now?
Oh, for sure.
And then you get to that point in there and they shift gears and it's just like, all right.
Yeah, look, man, I'm currently look. I know they've talked about. I know that there's talk of like Elizabeth Olsen being like she's done with the character and all that. Like,
Mm,
you can never know if you can really trust that stuff because they're not allowed to talk about anything that's happening anyway. But like the TVA comic, again, we talked about this before. Like having
mm-hmm,
Wanda like trapped in the basement of the TVA, kind of crazy. Supposed to be canon to the story. But
mm-hmm.
like, even if you're just following what's happening in Marvel comics right now, like I don't know if you know what's going on with Wanda in the comics right now,
Not as much. Mm-mm.
bro. She's the Sorcerer Supreme.
Actually, I did know that. I did hear because I know there was a whole like everybody was like the sorcerer at some point. It was like a whole thing.
Spider Man had it for a little bit. Yeah, like she's the Sorcerer Supreme right now, which is like
Hey,
a
listen.
whole other thing. You know, there's rumors they think that maybe there's gonna be that Marvel might be ramping up for like a reboot. Um, which is possible. And it would make sense if they're gonna do it to align it with Doomsday, like as
Mm-hmm.
a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just
No. 100%.
kind of make all those things run together. My number two is Wonder Man, so we're just flip flopped
Yeah.
on that. So not that it hasn't been discussed already, but a lot of what you said just rings true throughout for me too. I think that half-hour episodes. I think that making it all bingeable immediately,
Mm-hmm.
and not trying to drag it out over several weeks. Um, I think that really spending true time on the development of the character and the characters in the show. Getting back to what the MCU was really good at up front, which
Mm-hmm.
is getting you to fall in love with the people,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily the powers. You can still have the arguments about who can be who and who's
Right.
faster than who and who's stronger than who. Like all those things exist, but like only in a world where you care about a Tony and a Steve,
Mm-hmm.
can you have a real discussion slash argument about which one of them is right in Civil War, not necessarily which one would beat the other one in a fight in Civil War. You talk about who will beat who when you're talking about Iron Man and Captain America. But when
Mm-hmm.
you talk about Steve and Tony, you talk about who's on the right side of this and who's on the wrong side of this. And you don't, when the answer to that is, hey, dog, but he knew who killed his mom, bro. Even if you feel like he was wrong, you like, hey, but dog,
Oh, that was his mom, though.
you don't care about his mom because Iron Man doesn't have a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Stark does. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what Wonder Man does. They introduce you to his mother, to his brother, his father, who is no longer in the picture, and we
Mm-hmm.
don't really know what happened. They don't even go into that. You just know that it's an integral part of who he is as a person
Mm-hmm.
and how he as a person is affected by the powers, the abilities that he has, which we barely get to see at
Mm-hmm.
all,
At all.
at all. And still, you're glued to the show because you do want to know: is he going to get the part? Is he? You know what I mean? Like, is he going to blow it? Is he going to overthink it? Is he going to? You know what I mean? So, um, it sits at number two for me. And again, this wasn't easy because I tried to make sure that it wasn't about like the recency bias of like having just
Yeah.
watched it. It's relatively recent and it's Black History Month and it's a black character. Like, you know, I don't want to like, but the truth is, I think it actually is the most well done show that
Mm-hmm.
Disney Plus has done, period. If it was the best show that the MCU had, period, it'd be my number one. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not. Now we got to find out what those are. I have a feeling our number ones are the same,
I do too,
but what's your
but
number
we could
one?
be. My number one is Loki.
Absolutely not. Okay, I wasn't expecting that, but I like
Really,
talk to me. Yeah, I wasn't
really.
expecting that, but talk to me.
So Loki was one of those that when we found out it was happening. So one, it was kind of like, okay, obviously this is after Endgame, so it's like we don't have our Loki anymore. So wait, how let's bring this back. Let's figure out how we're gonna do this. We get this little snippet and we know that this Loki is coming from right out of Avengers 1 after everything happened. So I was like, okay, let's play off of what we saw in the movie. But look, Loki was a character, you know what? Grown with, I've enjoyed over time. His development is probably one of the better developments that they've done overall when you take all of the characters
Hey, you're not wrong.
and you put him in this new element. So obviously out the break, it's the Loki we've known from the beginning, evil, wanting to do, yeah. But when he gets humble, which is something like when you put humble and you put Loki in the same thing, honestly
Doesn't even seem right. Yeah,
shouldn't make sense at all. Um, and I was worried at one point that the TVA storyline and everything was going to get played out really fast.
yeah,
But it ended up being something that they really truly took and they tied it into the grander scheme of the MCU. And honestly, it's probably going to be one of the most pivotal points as we get through Spider-Man and we get to Doomsday. Um,
yeah.
but I think they did a really good job. You know what? There's a lot of characters in there that they did take the time to
Oh yeah,
develop and to really get you in the feels. And I thought that was done very well. Episode lengths ranged, but I feel like they didn't. They utilized the time I would say the majority of the time whenever they needed to do with it on there.
yeah,
Um, I think Loki took a character that honestly was supposed to, you know what? He died. That's it. And we wanted to introduce the multiverse, and we did it in a very dramatic way in using Loki. In this case, not using but only one, the same version, the same appearance and everything to going to seeing other versions of Loki. Obviously, we've had other heroes, Fantastic Four, who have been, different appearances and everything, but we haven't really touched or done anything with that. Loki has actually took and did that with it. Um, Overall, I think it's probably sits in being top three, probably overall in presentation and everything that they did with an MCU show. Um, and taking a character that probably we thought ran its course and it ended
yeah.
up showing that no, this character has a lot more potential in here that we can use for it. And now kind of just sitting on the shelf right now to see what they do for it.
Yeah, so Loki, it was very difficult for me to not put Loki on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is definitely one of the better shows. It's a great show. I think in the long run, I think the reason why I didn't put Loki on my list, even though I do think
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be, I feel like after Doomsday, I might
That
be
could
like,
be a
yo, Loki. But right now, at least the second season of Loki feels so tied to Kang and like the Victor Timely thing that
mm-hmm.
that kind of ruins it for me. But I love where Loki ended up in it, and I still think
Mm-hmm.
that is super important. To like, you know what I mean,
Grand
to
scheme.
what they're gonna do going forward. But until they do it, I don't
You're
I
not
don't
quite
know.
there yet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my number one is Jessica Jones. Let me tell you something about Jessica Jones. I don't care if you don't
You
care.
know what? I kind of forgot
If
about
you
Jessica Jones.
only
I didn't
consider the
really.
first season, Jessica Jones is the best show that Marvel has done ever. It's hard to say like hands down push everything to the
Mm-hmm.
bottom, but let me tell you something about a show that has very little superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
You get incredible character development. You fall in love, hate with the character. She doesn't even really want her powers, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's a regular person with regular people problems, love problems, alcohol problems, just money problems, like just the one of my favorite things about Marvel characters when they do them and do them well is like they're street level characters that just you can
Mm-hmm.
really kind of align yourself with them having regular people problems even though they have these extraordinary powers and abilities, right? But more importantly, we have to talk about Kilgrave, the mother purple man, bro. Because again, like I've said it before, that show elevates Purple Man
Mm-hmm.
to, in my opinion, Joker level status as far as villains are concerned. And I didn't know what to expect with the Jessica Jones show, for real. But the performance
Mm-hmm.
of one David Tennant as Kilgrave, as Purple Man, in terms of making you actually feel for the villain who's done the most horrific things, right? Um, man, that show is such a good watch. And it, you know, was a foray into adult TV that Marvel hadn't really done. Like Daredevil went bloody. Jessica
Mm-hmm.
Jones went like adult. Um and I love that they allowed it to be that to do that thing. Like if there was someone who doesn't care about the MCU at all, doesn't care about superheroes or powers or whatever at all, who is just like, can you recommend me a show to watch? In
Mm-hmm.
a heartbeat, I'd be like, watch Jessica Jones season 1. I don't care if you don't like superpowered people at all. This show, you will be all in. Like you're so bought into what's happening and what's gonna happen next and how she's gonna handle this. And like it is literal captivating television. And while all of the other shows that they do are good shows,
Mm-hmm.
none of them have been captivating the way that show, especially that first season, was captivating. They land a lot of the good, like the action stuff and the strength, and like, yep, Punisher does a thing, and but like that show, them showing her for Born Again season 2 almost got Daredevil Born Again put on this list, and we might have to revisit this joint
Yeah,
in a couple of months
because
because
technically, yeah, that Joan is gonna be. Mm, I gotta throw these up here now because.
please do. Oh man, that's now jokes. Why on earth would you assume y'all had the same number one show and knowing that was your
Hey,
answer?
but here's the funny part. But you gotta see the next one. What you put up?
Hold on, reverse that comment. I know you did not actually think Joseph was going to choose Jessica Jones. Nah, I did though. I
So
thought Joseph.
honest, I didn't pick. So I didn't put any of the Netflix ones on my list.
They're all
And
canon
like Daredevil, yeah, Daredevil was the exception because of the fact now with
because it's
Born
born
Again,
again.
it technically is MCU. I didn't include those, but now obviously with Jessica Jones bridging over and coming over, Jessica Jones could make this list now. But for right now,
Let's let's keep it a
I
buck.
didn't include any of those. Yeah, I
We
didn't
don't
include
count.
any of those.
Nobody counts Luke Cage, Defenders, or Iron Fist. Nobody counts those. Those joints are not real. They didn't actually happen. Daredevil happened and Jessica Jones happened, and the rest of them joints did not. They're not canon. I don't care. I don't care what they like. They're not good. They're okay.
Okay.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like they're okay. Um,
I can live with Luke Cage. I can live
no,
with it, but Iron Fist
it's
can.
way better than Iron Fist, and
Iron
it's
Fist.
also
Yeah.
better than Defenders. But
Yeah.
like, to be honest, bro, like I don't even feel like the problem with Defenders more than anything is that I don't actually think that those four actors have good chemistry together.
Hmm.
I think Luke Cage and Jessica Jones are okay, but I think like the I don't think all of them. I don't think it really melded quite well, and that could be
Hmm.
a directorial issue. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And like how they were given direction or whatever. But um, I don't know. The acting feels like it's at odds with each other, not the
Hmm.
characters feel like they're at odds with each other. And so I don't. But look, man, solid list. I love what you did, man. I don't have any arguments about I mean about
Same.
your list.
I
Like
agree.
it is very difficult to argue with Loki as a number one because it is really good. And I'll be honest, it I was surprised it did not end up making my list. If it
Hmm.
weren't for Wonder Man, it probably would have made my list.
Hmm.
Um, Wonder Man kind of forced some things to shift around. Um, but solid list, bro. I think you
You
got a
as
solid
well.
list.
Loading snacks.
Tighten it up. Tighten it up. Get your wing up and down.